Hi, and welcome to the Illustrator in Under 10 tutorial series where we give you techniques in Adobe Illustrator in under 10 minutes. In this particular tutorial, we're going to talk about Distort and Transform. Let's get started. The first thing you want to do is you want to take note that we have a shape on the board, and you can actually take and create any shape that you want under the Shape tool selection. Okay, so let's highlight our actual shape that we have here. Now, we have two options for Distort and Transform. We're going to look under the Effects menu for one, and we can go to Distort and Transform, and you'll find some options under there. These are our non-destructive options. And then under our Width tool in our Tools panel, you'll find that we have a bunch of other Distort and Transform options, similar to the ones that we found in the Effects menu, but these are going to be destructive. The difference between the two, non-destructive, is essentially it places a filter on the object that can be manipulated and changed in real time. And the objects under the Width tool, these will actually create a destructive edit on it live. So once that shape is altered, it will now be the new shape. You can't go back, unlike the Effects menu. So we'll get into that real quick. Let's start with the Effects menu. Let's highlight our shape, go to Effect, Distort and Transform, and we'll go to Free Distort. You'll get a window with a rectangular bounding box. This bounding box represents how you can manipulate the shape and alter it. And if we click OK, you'll notice that the shape will now take the effect that we saw in the box. But within that, you will notice the original shape is still present. This is to show you that it is non-destructive. Let's get rid of that, and let's just take a look at some of the other effects that are under here. We have pucker and bloat, roughen, transform, tweak, twist, and zigzag. We're going to go through each very quickly. So pucker and bloat, we're going to preview that and note that you'll see the bounding box still remain the same around the object. If we bloat, it's expanding this, and if we pucker, it is sucking it inward. Okay, we're going to cancel that. We're going to go into our next one. Let's go into roughen. Now there are two types of roughen. There's relative and absolute, which you'll notice there will be subtle changes. One is relative to the inside and one is relative to the outer bounding area. And then we have points, which is smooth and corner. By default, corner is chosen, and we can take a look and we'll see that it's very, very jagged. We can change the size. We can change the detail, which will change the number of jaggies, as you see. And if we were to change it to smooth, it will actually change the corner edges from corner to smooth, so sharp to rounded. And if we were to click absolute, notice there's now a less drastic change, and it's more so based around the edges of the object as opposed to relative, which is based around the center. Okay, let's cancel that. Let's go to Effect, Distort and Transform. We're going to go to Transform. And with this one is more detailed than the other transforms, but it allows you to change the scale, horizontal, vertical. You can move it, offset it. You can change the angle of rotation. And we can change whether or not when we do these things we can reflect on certain accesses, scale the strokes and effects. This is something that you also want to pay attention to, because as you scale, let's say there's a stroke on it and maybe set at 2 points. If you scale it a certain size, do you want that to scale along with the object? Like if the object doubles in size, do you want 2 points to now be 4 points, or do you want it to remain at 2? So you want to do things like that. Random, of course, is random. You can change the number of copies that are made. You can transform patterns if those patterns are represented in a fill or a stroke within the object. And these are the options that you get within the transform effect. So let's go into Effect, Distort and Transform, Tweak. Let's take a look at the preview, and we'll notice that it slightly twists and pulls our object, depending, and of course relative to absolute again. And it allows you to modify the various points, anchor points, in control points and out control points, and of course turn your preview on so you can see what you're getting while you're doing this, because these are very, very random in how they are applied, so you want to make sure you're getting the right effect. So let's cancel that. Effect, Distort and Transform, and we're going to go to Twist, which is almost self-explanatory. We'll take a look, and as we increase the angle, we'll notice that it starts to spiral. And let's go in here and do it like this. And you'll notice that it's almost like a typhoon or a hurricane. It's spinning towards the middle. So let's increase this to an even larger angle. And you'll notice how it's doing this. So let's go back, Effect, Distort and Transform, and we'll go to Zigzag. We'll do a preview, and you can change the size, the number of ridges per segment. As you can see, it increases it, and you can change it from smooth to corner, which will round or straighten the edges. Now, if we were to go, again, those are non-destructive. So we go to Distort and Transform. Let's go to Free Distort. Let's manipulate one of these corners and click OK. If we wanted to take this shape and now make it live, we can go to Object, and we can expand the appearance, and now we can control the anchor points relative to the shape directly. So let's take a look. There we go. Now this actually had a stroke on it, which is why this is present in the background. Let's get rid of that. But you can now control the individual anchor points. If we were to go back and we were to take this and keep it at a effect instead of an expanded appearance, if we were to move this anchor point, it's going to move relative to the effect itself. It still won't change the actual shape directly in here with respect to its anchor point. You can't grab that. So let's go back. Let's take that off. And now we'll take a look at the tools that are essentially Distort and Transform tools within the actual Width tool option. Now you can warp, which will push and pull the object. And each of these has, if you double click on the tool itself, it has options within itself that allow you to change it. You can add more details, you can simplify it, you can change the width and height, the angle, and the intensity. And if you're using a pressure sensitive pen, like I am, you can do it relative to how hard you're pushing on the screen. Okay, so let's say we go to the Twirl tool, which is essentially how we did the twist tool. But this one you can do relative to various points that you're pressing down on the screen. And pressure sensitivity will come into play, or the intensity that you set for the twist. Same thing. They're going to have similar options. The twirl rate, 40 degrees. You can change the degrees so that it's sharper or less sharp so that it doesn't twirl as fast. The details, and you can simplify it. Same thing. All of these have roughly the same options underneath. We're going to go to pucker. We can pucker in at certain points. We're going to go to bloat. We can bloat out. Let's go to, what are we going to go next? Scallop. And this kind of creates scalloped edges. And I'm actually going to, let's get some other shapes in here. Let's go back. Crystallize, which extends crystalline points from wherever you're pushing and or pulling. As you can see as I go around this live. And then the last is the Wrinkle tool, which is less of a drastic option as the crystalline tool. Okay, so you see we have the Width tool, which that one I don't actually consider to be as much of a Distort and Transform, because that one is more so based on the actual strokes themselves, but I'll show you how that works. Select the Width tool. You can grab and pull and change width points within an actual stroke or line segment. Okay, so that's where that comes from. And if you were to double click on any of these points, you can then individually change the width on one side versus the width on another, or the total width, and adjust the adjoining widths. Or you could just delete one and then it will remove it. Okay, so that is how you work with the Distort and Transform tools in Adobe Illustrator. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. If you're looking for more information, feel free to ask as well. Again, I look forward to seeing you guys in the next tutorial. You can find me online, www.theonewillfocus.com, or Instagram, where the majority of my work is shown, at theonewillfocus. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next tutorial. Take care.